Oh, this is a great debate we're having about this guy from Tonkin and Taylor that heckled Winston and whether or not his company should be mean. Someone has written into me and says, Sean, what would you say if Michael Laws broadcast that you were a hypocrite and a shock jock, says Steve. I'd breathe through my nose, but it might be career limiting for him. Well, joining us now is the bad boy of Parliament who got kicked out yesterday and driving commuters mad on the station, the platform at Wellington train station. Deputy Prime Minister for a while yet, leader of the New Zealand First Party and Foreign Minister Winston Peters. Mr. Peters, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. Firstly, you were naughty yesterday. You get kicked out of the house. Why were you asking? What prompted you to ask whether or not going to a tanning clinic was Māorification? What is the story behind that?
Because of the hypocrisy of Ngawera Packer being exposed by this person, in this case was the person delivering the service, going down on Thursdays to get a tanning to look more Māori. And I'm just looking at the hypocrisy of the party Māori in this matter, and I said, is that Māorification? Now that's humour. It's not an attack. It's a simple question. And the speaker overreached his responsibilities.
Okay, and you are confident that this is true, that she has been going on Thursdays to a tanning expert to make her skin look darker?
Because the tanning expert went public on the matter.
Wonder why the tanning expert did that. Maybe she hadn't paid her for the tanning. So I would agree that is a somewhat light-hearted jibe, and you weren't accusing her of not paying her bills. How come Jerry Brownlee got so angry at you over it? That was it. You were gone, Burgo.
I asked a simple question inside the standing orders, and going down for decades in the great days, this is a place, a raging battle for political power. We all understand the rules, and I can remember the great days of Muldoon and Longy and people like that, or dare I say it, Michael Cullen, where this is all understood to be the rules until this new bunch turned up and they can't even be attacked by words, or can't possibly be made to feel inferior in terms of their debating skills. That's what's gone wrong with Parliament.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yesterday too, I thought a very clever move by Chris Bishop to stop a potential filibuster ahead of the budget. You simply delay the debate on another issue surrounding discipline, that is the Privileges Committee censure or sanction as recommended against the Māori party. That was a clever little move. Did you have anything to do with that, or did Bishop come up with it all on his own?
I'll give you the honest truth. We're the people that steeled him to do that. That's a fact.
Okay, so that was a...
We just said, look, despite them having wasted 6 months of the Select Committee, not appearing 3 times, this is important in this context. The budget is the number one debate in any given year. And so even though they didn't bother turn up last year, we won't give them an excuse to not turn up this year. We'll tell them at least now, on their side, you can get to this debate. You won't be able to blame anybody else. It was a suggestion of a number of us, and they had to be steeled to take that option.
Okay, so are you telling me the National Party undenied about that option? Because it seemed to me a brilliant move.
Well, you've just given me the statement where you said that was Bishop's move.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. And all I want in this coalition is to tell things as they really are. Maybe you just forgot the part there. In this case, it was we and us are the right words and not I.
All right.
But we're not going to give the party Māori a chance to say, and you shut us out of this most important debate.
Well,
which it is.
Rawiri Rautaki says it's like being on remand waiting for sentence, and I guess he's got some experience of that.
Oh, this is just nonsense. They have shown utter contempt for the parliamentary process from day one. People sitting there with cowboy hats on, doing all what they like, dressing in any old fashion they feel like. Sometimes some people have been there in bare feet. Look, Mahari wrote an article for the Herald, the former Labour minister, wrote an article for the Herald last year. It should be a textbook for all parliamentarians. And the Labour Party should be going back to those standards as well. And what he said was, when you let standards like that fall, everything else that collapses with it. And he was right then and he's right now.
All right. Two other things I want to cover. You were down at Wellington railway station yesterday morning announcing what you're doing with some of the money that the taxpayer gives you and how you're giving it back into rail, and we need some stuff in rail. And a heckler turns up. And I guess when you hold a media conference in a public place, in the best traditions of participatory democracy, people have got the right to come and have a crack at you because you're not in control of the environment. You actually look like you were quite enjoying the back and forth with Mr. Andrew Buchanan.
Well, this person turns up, comes in from behind and is pushing really close behind me and Bishop when a person with serious security credentials went up to him and said, move. So he goes from behind us, right near our backs, trying to push up there. He was shouting bollocks back there and I couldn't see him. Then he turns around in front of me over there, despite all the journalists and all the other people paying attention to this serious matter to do with Wellington's infrastructure. And he works for Taylor Donkin, right? They have contracts with Kiwi Rail, and even though they've got a code of conduct, and he's even wearing their insignia, that's how we knew
well,
where
he's
he
their
came
DEI
from.
officer, Mr. Peters. He's their diversity rainbow manager. Did you not know that? And his son is transitioning.
Well, this is breathtaking stuff, but they had the decency to call me up and say, Mr. Peters, we apologise for that behaviour, and this has become an employment issue. And I said, well, that being the case, I'm not going to be interfering with anything that goes on in that matter, other than to say to you, I appreciate the fact that in the public arena, when other people are there and are listening on a critical matter for Wellington's infrastructure, belatedly so after all these years, that a firm like yours would have somebody out there shouting bollocks without even bothering to listen to the issue.
I'm going to come back at you on this, Mr. Peters. You hold a press conference in a public place. You have no greater right than he or anyone else to speak in that space. It's not a closed space. You don't have more rights than he does as a citizen of New Zealand. He chooses to speak and engage in a democratic debate with you. Doesn't matter where he works. He's a member of the public. He's not on the company's dime then. And now the poor bugger, for exercising his democratic right and his freedom of speech, he's under an employment bloody cloud at his place of work. He was clearly speaking for himself.
No, excuse me.
For his company.
No, excuse me. This is the problem with your argument. If all the other people there are prepared to wait till question time to put their questions, why couldn't he? Instead of busting the whole thing up.
Because it's not an event. It's just the side of the street. It's not an event that you're in control of. It's a public place.
Oh, look, half of my problem with the Party Māori is on the marae there are rules, and you can't behave like that.
You weren't on
so
a
why
marae.
do you think?
You were at a public railway station.
Right. Okay. So are you offended by the fact I wouldn't take it from him and told him what he could do?
No, I think that's democracy in action. That's a good old Donnybrook.
That's right.
That's the way it should be.
Yes. Yeah, but okay. If he works for a company that's depending on sometimes for contracts from Kiwi Rail, maybe he had any intelligence, would be prepared to wait to hear what the announcement was that we were all there for.
Yeah.
But no.
I think Winston.
He came along with it.
I think he just didn't like you. And you gave us
Yeah,
good.
I kind of got that, and you're right about that. He's entitled not to like me.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to answer questions from anybody.
All
But
right.
why didn't he have some respect for his fellow citizens?
Okay. Look,
Instead, he thought he'd come along and bust it up and own the place. And we had news from Mr. Plunket, and the news was all bad. We're not taking that.
okay. Look, the last thing I want to talk to you about, in the last week we have, because it came up in a completely separate story, we've uncovered a policy at Television New Zealand and amongst a large number of other government quangos and government organisations, a policy called Rautaki Māori. And Rautaki Māori would appear to give precedence to the development of Māori culture and the Treaty of Waitangi in all these workplaces, and it must inform everything in an organisation, including recruitment. It is a blueprint for ethnic preference for Māori in recruitment in government departments and quangos.
Yes.
That exists.
It's horrible.
Will you get rid of it?